Hello. I know I'm starting a little bit early today, but I was just kind of sitting, thinking a little bit about this live today, and thinking about the one that I did on Friday, and it was just making me think that, a lot of the comments I felt like weren't necessarily about the topic, and that's totally fine. The thing that came up for me, though, was thinking that maybe we should do one that's just me, where you guys can ask me questions and I'll answer them. So I just want you to all to feel seen and not feel like that's the one opportunity you have to be like, hi. So we can just take the next couple of minutes just to try this out. If you want to say hi, I can say hi back, and we can try and get that out of our systems a little bit so that we can focus on this topic that we have today, which is paid sick leave. It's a pretty big issue with a lot of different pieces to it. And so it's also okay if you don't want to stay for that, if you don't feel like that applies to you or isn't of interest to you. It's all good. I'm just trying to touch upon a lot of different things that are happening at this current climate, and use this time that we have to better educate ourselves. So I'm looking at the comments now. We have a couple more minutes. Someone just said, "You are hair." I love it. Thank you. I would say, like, if the concept of doing like a Q&A type of thing with me, it would just be me doing this. It seems like it would be of value. Oh, yay, May the 4th. That's so sweet. You can say that, or you can also say, no, I don't care. I've got better things to do with my time. I'm learning a new hobby. I'm like helping people. Like, I don't really need to hear what your favorite color is. But just know that I am, as I'm saying, I'm watching the comments, I'm seeing it. I just want to make sure that when we are saying, okay, and now it's time to talk about this topic, that we can focus on it and you feel heard in other ways. More videos. Oh, am I going to cover more songs? Yeah, I think that was fun. And that's just what I do anyway. So it seems like it was nice for you guys too. So I'll do that. It's nice to balance it out, so it's not like anytime I go live, we're just having deep conversations. I mean, I am a deep person and I don't really like to mess around with small talk. I'm not really a small talk person. But it's okay to have fun, and I would like to have fun with you guys. So I got a lot of great recommendations last time when I posted on my stories asking. So I got a pretty long list of songs to learn, and we can play together. That was the other thing. Oh yeah, I'm seeing your comments. No, don't worry about it. It's like people are apologizing for the comments yesterday. All good. Yeah. Like, it's all loving. I don't feel anything about it. It's just, I like taking the time to think about these things because it makes you go like, oh, what is this saying to me? And I guess it's saying that maybe we need more time to connect without something extra. So, hello. I see someone that says fan from India. Hello, India. Thank you. I don't know what time it is there, but thank you for being here. So, okay, it's 5:01. Oh, how much are my turnips selling on my island? I actually haven't checked yet today. I had real work to do today, so I haven't checked my turnip prices. I actually forgot to buy turnips this Sunday, so I had a tough time last week with the stock market, so I was taking a break, I guess, this week subconsciously, because I couldn't deal with the stress, y'all. It's too much. Okay, so it's 5:01, so shifting now into the topic that we've been talking about paid sick leave. Super important, and also really important to talk about right now. I think some of this stuff even if it's not happening to you, it's just so good to know, because I bet you there's somebody that's going through this right now, struggling with it. So it's a great time to get your questions together if you have any. I'm not super well educated on this topic, so I'm going to be asking questions from a pretty basic standpoint. Tina is incredible. I've known her for many years now through Time's Up, and I'm going to see if she's here. Oh, here we go. Oh, how do I? Oh, I will be searching. Oh, I just saw Reese is doing a live video right now. That's cool. Seeing if Tina will come in. Waiting for Time's Up now. It's always exciting, right? Every time this is happening. Hi!
Hi!
How are
It
you?
worked. I
It
will
worked.
confess, my daughter Emma had to help me with the technology here.
Thanks, Emma. It's truly like a miracle. Anytime I can get something like this to work, I'm truly amazed.
Yeah, Emma is like my one-woman IT department at home, and it's pretty essential.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, we all have our strong suits and our downfalls, and mine is definitely, my strong suit is not technology.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm so with you.
So, Tina, I think to start, if you could just give a little intro, of like who you are, what you're about, what your background is, why you want to talk about this issue, and why I'm talking to you about this issue.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Brie.
Of course.
It's like such a treat.
To see you.
It's and as I told you, it's a special treat for us because one of our, quarantine activities was to run through. We are a Marvel family. We ran through all the Marvel movies, and really, our favorite is of course Captain Marvel. So this is a treat for me. But I'm especially really grateful to you for talking about paid sick leave. So I am the president and CEO of Time's Up, which you have been with since the very beginning. We were started back in 2017 in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein articles, but really we're fighting not just for protections against sexual harassment. We started the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund to do that, but now really working for safe, fair, dignified work for everyone, because that's what we need if we want to keep sexual harassment from happening in the workplace. We need more diversity in the workplace. We need more equity in the workplace. And for women to succeed in the workplace, they need things like paid sick leave, because that's what keeps women from succeeding. I will say I sort of had a job before Time's Up. And that was, I did all 8 years in the Obama White House as an assistant to the president and chief of staff to Mrs. Obama, and was executive director of the White House Council on Women and Girls, where I worked with Valerie Jarrett. And so that's informed a lot of my work now, though. It's really fit, all of this work we're now doing in Time's Up.
Yeah, amazing. So I guess let's dive into this, to paid sick leave. And what is it, first of all? Like, what are we talking about? Because it seems like is it different depending on which kind of job you're in?
So paid sick leave is the pretty basic concept that if you're sick, you should be able to take a day off from work and still get paid. Now, the reason I think it is sort of a foreign concept to a lot of us is if you're a high wage earner. So it turns out if you're making over $30 an hour, if you're in the top 25% of earners in the country, if you're fortunate enough to be there, 92% of us who are in that earning bracket have paid sick leave. Oh, wow. But if you're in the lowest wage groups, right? So if you are grocery workers and first responders and nurses and orderlies and janitors, only half of low wage workers have paid sick leave. So, most restaurant workers do not have paid sick leave. Most grocery workers don't have paid sick leave. So it is, endemic across. And now we know that. And it's just the basic concept of if you're sick or if your child is sick too, you should be able to take a day off of work and not, guess what, go and be a restaurant worker when you're sick, right?
Right.
Makes total sense. But, the United States, up until the start of this crisis, we were one of only 2 industrialized countries in the world without a national paid sick leave policy. We had nothing. And that meant 32 million workers. That's the number of workers who in our country did not have paid sick leave. So here's why it matters to all of us. First of all, those workers are entitled to paid sick leave. And these are people who are trying to balance when they're sick, whether they put food on their table, right?
Right.
Or they don't. And so that's fair. They should get paid sick leave like the rest of us who are higher earners get to. But now the pandemic has showed us this is important for all of us, right? With COVID, you don't want a worker who might be sick showing up to pack your groceries, right?
Right.
Or
And that's the
picking
thing
your food.
that's the thing that's so interesting about everything that you just mentioned. Like every single job that you just said, those are the essential jobs right now. Those are the things that are sort of keeping this from being a complete and total shutdown are these
Right.
essential jobs. And this seems like the most important time that if somebody was like, I'm not feeling great, that it should be like, you take care of yourself, we got you. And so to hear what you just said just feels really off.
Well, I
So
will say, so one thing that Congress did do, right, as an emergency. So if you remember the very first Corona bill that came through, the
yeah.
CARES bill. So in addition, that's the one that had the checks. So in addition to the checks, I did provide for some emergency paid sick leave on a temporary
Okay.
basis, just for the terms of the crisis. There was paid sick leave passed, but Congress put in all sorts of exceptions. So if you're an employer with over 500 workers, you were exempted and you didn't have to provide it.
Wait. If you have more than 500 employees,
You had more than 500 workers. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, right? Where's my statistic here? Like 86% of warehouse workers work in a company that has more than 500 workers. So they were
right.
exempted. The 75% of pharmacies, are in companies with over 500 workers. I mean, Congress's thinking was, gee, if you're in a big company, they're more likely to provide sick leave, except we know that that's not true either. So they exempted them. And then, just to add to it, then when the regulations came out, the Trump administration Department of Labor issued regulations that exempted healthcare workers and emergency workers from having to provide emergency sick leave. So now the very people who are on the front lines for us and getting sick, a lot of their employers are not providing sick leave, paid sick leave when they get sick from the virus, and they're not required by the federal government to do it. It's kind of backwards. Yes, you have that look on your face. It's like
Yeah,
completely
it just
backwards.
does not. That just really doesn't make me feel good at all. So, what? Who is it up to? So I'm seeing that it's the bill, this bill that has a lot of loopholes in it that are not being very helpful. What can be done right now? Like, is it up to the employer? So say, is it up to the individual hospital to do something about it, or the individual, like, I don't know, a packing facility, or is it the corporation as a whole?
So usually it's the corporation as a whole, right, that is setting their policies for their company. But there's also local businesses, right? So you want to pay attention to your local businesses. Now, because Congress hasn't acted for so many years, I mean, there are many of us who've been working to try to get paid sick leave for decades, right? And it hasn't happened. The good news is there are some states like California is really good. New York just passed paid sick leave. I'm here in Chicago, and I'm really proud to say that in Chicago, we have mandatory paid sick leave as a city ordinance. So there are cities and states that have acted ahead of Congress. So you can check it out if you come to our website, timesupnow.org. We've got a resource and you can figure out what's the situation in your city or state. But I'm really glad, Brie, that we're talking about this today, because today is the day that the U.S. Senate went back to Washington. That may or may not have been a good idea, but they did.
They
And
did.
they're back there. And the House of Representatives goes back to Washington next week. So right now, we are asking everybody to get in touch with their members of Congress and say, we need to fix all these loopholes. We need paid sick leave permanently and comprehensively right now. And the way to do it, you can link with Time's Up. We're doing an activation right now. So all you have to do is text the words paid leave now to 30644. And you'll get linked with us. We can provide you information. We can link you directly to your member of Congress.
Oh, amazing.
Right now, this conversation we're having is so timely, because this is the fight that's happening right now for working women and men across the country. Could not be more important.
Right. So yeah, so to just reiterate that again, like what's I know in the past with these conversations, the activations have been a little different, where it was like, the conversation with Shirley was whether you had used clothing or if you could purchase mouthwash. But this is different. Doesn't require a financial donation. This is just taking a little bit of time to think about what's going on right now and also think about our future. I think once again, all of these conversations of these issues and this period of time for me has just felt like it's highlighted what already existed. It's not necessarily developing new problems, it's just exaggerating and bringing to the surface what was already there, the systems that weren't working, and seeing all the people that feel forgotten and are not being supported right now. And it's an amazing opportunity, I think, for us to step up. And so I'll definitely be doing that. And thank you for that. Thank you for giving me at least something because it feels sometimes with this stuff, it feels so distant and so much bigger than me. And so I get down about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is hard. This is a tough moment, right? We are all struggling, in different ways, and being unable to be together, right? Is really hard, and there isn't the support systems there for us. And it is hard to know what to do. If you're not a healthcare worker, I keep having these moments where like I should have taken my dad's advice and gone to medical school instead of law school. Moments, right? Like, is that I could be out there being a doctor, but we all help in our own ways. And this is one where everyone, regardless of what your job is, regardless of whether you have a job or not, this is the power of our democracy, right? Making your voice heard to your member of Congress is a right that you have as a citizen. And you can step up and and we make it easy, right? If you just text paid leave now to 30644, we'll link you. We'll link you directly to your member of Congress. And, if you're in California and you've got some great members of Congress and they're already supporting it, it's still important for you to reach out to those members, because they need to be able to walk into their colleagues and say, look, I'm hearing it. I'm a supporter, and I'm still my phone line is still, and my text line is still filled with people who are worried about paid sick leave. Because this really is, as you point out, Brie, this is a moment where paid sick leave might have thought about something I worry about for somebody else, and I'm okay, I have it. But with this virus and the way it's touched all of us, you can see, if people had paid sick leave at the start of this virus, they could have stayed home, right? They could have stayed home. We could have perhaps, flattened the curve sooner. Businesses wouldn't be struggling right now with how to pay their workers because they would have already, figured in the cost of paid sick leave into their business plans. It would have been something they would have had to do as a cost of doing business from the beginning. And this is what we talk about a lot. A lot of these things that affect women uniquely shouldn't be things that women have to struggle with and figure out by themselves, because these are the foundations of how we really build a resilient business and a resilient economy. And this one is a really graphic example about how that's true.
Just thinking that you have such a unique perspective in this, being that you worked, with the White House, like for so many years. For those that feel like it's just like screaming into the void, do people listen? Like, does Congress listen when we call these numbers, text, write, tweet, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is? Like, do they take notice of that?
Oh, they do. No, they
Okay.
do. They absolutely do. We did. And in members' offices, they've got little call sheets where they're figuring out, we got this many calls on paid sick leave today. We got this many calls, on reopen the government. We got this, the businesses. We got this many on don't reopen. They are completely ticking those things off. And it makes a difference. I mean, we were in the Obama administration, we used to hear when we were trying to fight for Obamacare, for example, members would say, like, I'm not really hearing it. It's not really that serious out there, so maybe you don't need my vote, or maybe this isn't something I should go out on a limb for. So they absolutely do. And I will tell you, this is an election year. So don't forget, every member of the House of Representatives is up for reelection. 1/3 of the Senate is up for reelection.
Wow.
Tons of governors, and state city councilmen are up for reelection. And this is especially a time of year when they will listen to their constituents when they hear from them.
Right, because they want to be reelected.
Exactly.
Right, so they want to hear what their constituents really care about so that they can best serve them. Yeah, that's the other thing. When we talked on the phone, what I thought was interesting is, I think, the presidential election gets like so much attention. It's such a big deal. It's obviously very important. but we have smaller elections that are happening that maybe we either don't have the ability to vote for because we have work or we're busy or we might not even know that it's happening. But what was interesting to me was you telling me on the phone how important those are, that these smaller elections are actually incredibly vital for things like paid sick leave.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, even though Congress had not passed any paid sick leave, we had states and cities that were passing paid sick leave. We've got states and cities that have passed equal pay protections when we don't have federal legislation, equal pay protections. We've got cities and states that are passing things like paid family leave. That's like a whole other category of paid leave. That's not even paid sick leave. We're talking about people getting the opportunity to take time off when they have a baby, right? Either, both a mom or a dad being able to do that. People being able to take time off if they've got a sick parent or they've got a spouse, who's a military, a service member who's wounded and need to take care of them. Vast numbers, millions of our workers don't even have access to that, to being able to have paid leave to care for a sick child or a sick parent, or take time off if they're a domestic violence victim and they need to go to court, all of those things. If they've lost a loved one, and they need time to grieve, there's millions of workers who don't have the ability to take time off for those things. And yet there are cities and states that have stepped up where Congress hasn't to pass local legislation. So that's why it's important to vote all the way down the ballot. If you're going to pull a ballot, and you must pull a ballot November 3rd of this year, don't just stop at president, work your way all the way down the ballot and vote, for mayor and vote for city council. And then when election time comes around next year, and it's not a presidential election, but your mayor's up for election or your city councilman, take a ballot then too. We know that, almost 2/3 of people don't vote in off-year elections, which is sort of crazy. I mean, that's the way we make our democracy felt and heard. And it's just essential to keeping our country and our cities and our states operating is for everyone to vote in every election.
Amazing. Thank you. So you had sent me, I was just going to pull it up. You had sent me do you have any of those letters from?
Yes. Yeah.
They're so amazing. I just want to make sure that, I was amazed by reading these quotes of different folks talking about their fear right now and their need for help and in particular paid sick leave. So I'd love it if we could just read some of these so that people can hear the voices of who we're talking about. If you're not someone, it's just trying to find a way to get into this if it's not affecting you or someone that to understand how important it is to, make that call today if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've got a McDonald's worker named Fran Marion. And what, Fran said, and this is her quote, "I'd literally have to be damn near on my deathbed to take a full-blown sick day. The missed check is the difference between me having a roof over my head and my family's head versus us being homeless." That's how close to the margin some workers, this could be the McDonald's worker at your local McDonald's who's having to struggle, working at minimum wage and trying to keep food on the table and a roof over her head. And if she doesn't have paid sick leave, which would guarantee her she'd still get her paycheck, if she had to stay home, she doesn't get paid if she doesn't show up for work. And she can't afford not to do that.
And there was another one. I'm trying to pull it up on my iPad right now.
The broken glass. Throat feels like broken glass.
Yeah, I know. We talked about it on the phone because that one just really has stuck with me.
So we don't have her name, but this is, and she gave this quote to the New York Times, a package sorter in a UPS facility near San Francisco. And she said she was going to work every day, even though, this is her quote, "her throat feels like broken glass." The worker who requested anonymity said she was petrified that she would lose her job if she called in sick. Her quote is, "I can't afford to be homeless," she said. So
yeah,
that's the level of illness.
I can't afford to be homeless is so devastating to me. Can you touch upon as well, like why? Because, now we're so deep in this, we've been talking about this for 20 minutes now, and it just feels like, it's like, well, we should have paid sick leave. Like, let's have paid sick leave. What is the reason why this hasn't happened yet? Like, what's the what's the other view of it? Why hasn't this just been a no-brainer to pass?
Well, the other view, so at the federal regulation level, is there's a view on the part of business people that they don't want to be regulated, right? They don't want the federal government to tell them what to do or how to run their business. Um, and so, that's a very Republican Party point of view versus a Democratic Party, which has pushed for labor regulations and protections like this. So that's, a lot of small business people say, I can't afford it. And I get that if you're running a small business and you have very narrow margins on profitability, maybe you can't. But, when I was in the White House and we worked on this, we tried to really help small businesses think about how to be more profitable. And one of the things that people don't understand is if you provide people paid sick leave, there are costs that you are going to avoid. Actually businesses lose millions of dollars. Overall, if we provided national paid sick leave, our estimate is you would save $1.8 billion a year through, well,
How?
because you're losing productivity when people are sick, right?
Mm,
Or, you're having to, cover for them, or they're not as efficient when they're not feeling well. Or they're getting other people sick. So not only do you have one sick worker, then all of a sudden you may have 10 sick workers when they could have stayed home. So, there is actually a hidden cost in there that people aren't taking into account when they weigh the costs of, do I provide paid sick leave because I still have to pay wages even though they're not showing up, versus the other things that could happen, if you're not providing paid sick leave.
mm,
And, I remember vividly because we were concerned about small businesses, because it is true. It's hard to do if you've only got 12 workers. And we had a round table of small businesses when we were in the White House. And I remember one woman who ran a restaurant, she had 12 servers. In the decade that she had been opening her restaurant, she had never had to replace a single one of those servers. And that's because she let them set their own schedules. She gave them paid leave and paid sick leave. And so they knew she was invested in them. So they stayed invested in her. And, they were loyal employees. She said, look, I can't afford not to provide this because guess what? I don't have to pay for employee theft. I don't pay for, disability or, claims that people may file that happens in another business where, employees aren't happy about their employer and their employer's not protecting them. And that's the long view that we've got to take around providing benefits to our workers.
mm. Can you just, for those, I'm just assuming that people are kind of filtering in and out. So, just to remind those who've maybe just come in, I'm talking with Tina Chen of Time's Up, and we're talking about paid sick leave. And it's obviously a really complicated issue, and it's unfortunately affecting the people that have essential jobs right now, the people that are kind of keeping things going. So, um, the one thing that Tina's talking about that we can do right now is call our congressmen and women right now and tell them that this is important, that we're noticing now with this virus is sort of brought to the surface something that was always there, and that we need support. We need support for our medical staff. We need support for those that are working in the restaurant industry and packing facilities. Like, we want that. We want people to feel safe where they work and supported where they work, and that if they get sick, it doesn't mean that they're going to lose their home or lose their job. That it happens to all of us. We all get sick, and it shouldn't mean it just shouldn't mean that like it's that much of a devastation because we're getting sick, especially at a time when it's like we're all working together. It feels like to move us through this period of time.
And it will keep us safer too, right? If you know that your package delivery company is providing paid sick leave, right? Then the packages that come to your house are going to be safer because
Right.
the person who's delivering it isn't going to be sick, because if they were sick, they'd be able to take a day off and get their pay, right? This is
Right.
why it's like good for everyone. When restaurants open back up, if there's paid sick leave, then you know that your server isn't going to be sick because they had to make a choice to come into work to get a paycheck or not. It's going to make us all safer. And so the way to do it, Brie, and we make it really easy at Time's Up, all folks have to do is text the words paid leave now to 30644. And we'll provide you information. We'll get you connected directly to your member of Congress that is for your district where you live. We know who, we can figure out who that is. based on your zip code, and we can connect you to that person right away, make it easy. And you can really register your opinion. This is what it's about. Your opinion's valuable and important, and you should express it.
Awesome. So I'm just to remind everyone, we've got a couple more minutes. So if you do have any questions that I haven't touched upon, please, I'm watching, but if you have something, I'm here. I don't want you to feel unheard. So the number was 3030466?
30644.
30644, and they will connect you. I love
Correct.
it. I feel like I have like a call now number.
That's right.
For good. Call now for good.
Right. Paid lead now to 30644.
Is there anything else that I haven't asked you, Tina, that you want to say or that you feel like we haven't touched on?
No, I mean, I think really this is a fight for all of us, right? And I think I saw a question come where I was like, how do you prevent people from abusing paid sick leave? Well, you invest in your workers, right? This is, workers want to have a job, and they're going to want to have a job, especially in this coming recession and recovery that we have. And I think, this is an opportunity. I keep saying, out of a crisis, there's an opportunity. And the opportunity is to shift the old ways of doing business, shift us from a situation where employers don't trust their employees and employees don't trust their employers. And instead, realize you need to rebuild your businesses together because it's going to benefit everybody, right? It's going to give workers a job. It's going to give the employers, their business back to come out of this recession. And it's much better to do that together, on foundations of equity and safety and dignity for everyone. And paid sick leave is just one key step in doing that. And if you stay invested in your workers, we can really completely shift the way we think about work. Instead of it being a battle between workers and owners and managers, let's build businesses together, right? Let's rebuild our economy together. Let's go from this virus that we're fighting all in together to rebuilding our economy in a much fairer and probably more profitable way all together as well.
And do a lot of these like bigger businesses, do they have like their business practices available to us? Like if we wanted to research it and see what, I don't know, these are just ideas off the top of my head. Like, is there a way to know if like a company that you're supporting doesn't provide paid sick leave?
So right now in the virus, sort of Just Capital is one organization, and the New America Foundation. They are both posting trackers, and we've got links to them on the Time's Up Now website that can track, and they've been tracking sort of as businesses have been announcing new things. So Olive Garden, for those of you who like Olive Garden, another reason to really like them is they came out early to provide paid sick leave for their restaurant workers, and they made it permanent, right? They didn't just do it for the emergency.
Oh, wow.
They made it permanent. And so there are a lot of others, that are like that have, Olive Garden has done it. Family Dollar did, Bath and Body Works, Marshall's, Starbucks. Those are companies that have stepped up to meet the crisis and then gone beyond the crisis. And what we really need is we need paid sick leave even through this crisis, because another one's going to come, or just the regular flu is going to come, or the common cold is going to come.
Right.
And workers should be able to take time off.
Right. Wow. And I feel like that's kind of a nice way to end this too, is to recognize those businesses that have stepped up, because I feel like sometimes when you're like talking about an issue, it like can get very like,
right.
How are we going to solve this? But there's actually a lot of beauty happening right now, and a lot of ways that people are recognizing this and rising up. So thanks for pointing out those that are doing well. I love being able to praise those that are doing well.
Yeah. Well, consumer dollars, money talks. So really, in addition to voting and using your voice in the ballot box, using your voice, with your pocketbook is like another really powerful way to make yourself heard.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate it so much.
Oh,
yeah. It's so,
thank
this
you,
is
Brie.
great. Yeah, it's great. And I've learned so much. I hope that everyone that tuned in learned as much as I did. And let's just keep doing this. Let's keep rising up.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you to Emma for helping you with this.
She's
Enjoy
off
your
camera.
movie marathon. I'm with you in your TV.
Right.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Yay! Thank you for joining and being here for the conversation. I hope that you learned something. And I also meant to, at the beginning of this video, recap and say just thank you so much for those who tuned in on Friday with the conversation with Shirley. She just got so many donations, whether it was monetary or on her Amazon wish list, and I added to it as well and kind of filled in the gaps where you guys didn't buy stuff. And together we were able to help a lot of people. And so just know that through your goodwill and through your willingness to listen and open your eyes and participate, like just know that you're helping people, and that's a really good feeling. I know that these times are uneasy, and just to know that we're building a community and looking out for one another, um, it makes me feel good. So thank you so much. I love all your sweet little beautiful souls. Thank you for participating today. Very open to other ideas if there's certain topics or issues right now that you'd love to hear more about. Let's learn together. Stay safe. Much love. Talk soon.